This will be a review and exploration of seventh chords. This is our 1 chord. Our 2 chord is a minor chord. The 1, 4, and 5 chords are major. The 2, 3, and 6 chords are minor. The 7 is diminished chord. Alright, if we add sevenths, only the notes in the scale, then the sevenths will change types, just like the thirds do. We can see that this 7th here is a half step from the octave. It is the 7th step up a major scale and is referred to as the major 7th. When you go to the 2 chord, we can see that our 7th here is actually a whole step down from the octave. So let's compare this to the key of C. We have a minor chord, a minor triad, with a minor 7th. Here's our 2 chord. It's a minor chord with a minor 7th. In other words, a minor minor chord. Alright, we get exactly the same situation as the 2 chord when we have the 3 chord. 4 chord is like the 1 chord in that it's a major, major. The 5 chord, a major with a minor 7th. 6 chord is a minor minor, and the 7 chord is a diminished minor. You can have a major with a major 7th, a major with a minor 7th, a minor with a minor 7th, and one of my favorites, the minor with the major 7th chord. And or as an effect ending, the succession of chords in a song, commonly referred to as a progression, actually probably comes out of the dominant 7th chord because of 2 tones in the dominant 7th, the 3rd and 7th of the chord, that form, don't get lost now, a tritone. In other words, it's the space of a diminished fifth. It is also a whole step, and a whole step, referred to as a tritone. It's an unstable interval and it wants to resolve. Major 7th chords tend to resolve inward to a major 6th. Minor 7th chords tend to resolve up by a 4th step to a chord that is also a 7th chord. Here we resolve from the 2 chord to the 5 chord, which is a 7th chord and wants to resolve up by a 4th step. We're back to our tonic, and we can play that as a major 7th by a matter of choice, which then wants to resolve to a 6th, or it can be just simplified into being a straight major triad. Minor 2nd is about as dissonant as you can get. A major 2nd, not quite so dissonant. Minor 3rd is getting pretty consonant relatively. Major 3rd, consonant. Perfect 4th can be either way, depending on some other situations. The 5th is very consonant. The 5th tone of a scale is the stabilizing note in a chord. So that's why most of our chords, as we go up through the diatonic chords, are fairly stable chords, except for that 7 chord. So we discussed this before. A 7 chord is a chord that starts on the 7th step of the scale. It may or may not be a 7th chord. The ordinal numbers, in other words, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way up to 7th, refer to the chord constructions themselves. And this is just by convention and common usage. We looked at 2 prominent scales, the major scale harmonic minor scale, and we've discovered that because of the alteration of the natural minor scale, the sixth mode, with the alteration that we used, raising the seventh degree for the purpose of creating a dominant chord on 5, harmonically to return us to our tonic chord 1 triad minor. And there is the source of that minor major 7th chord. That is the 7th that occurs. The 2 chord is not affected by that, but the 3 chord definitely is. And that is the diatonic tone. This is also a very interesting chord. A major 7 with an augmented 5th, a sharp 5. Okay. The 4 chord isn't affected. The 5 chord is affected. And the 7th that you get with it creates another dominant 7th chord. The 6th chord is a major 7th. And the 7th chord is a fully diminished 7th chord. So let's review this diminished chord. Here we got a diminished triad, which is the same as a 1, flat 3, and a flat 5. If we add a diatonic 7th, it's the same as a 1, a flat 3, a flat 5, and a flat 7. Okay? Now this is in a major mode, and we're adding a 7th tone to the 7 chord. So we have a 7/7 chord. Let's review this. An interval of a perfect 5th, when it's made smaller by a half step, is referred to as a diminished 5th. When we do this with a 7th tone, there's a major 7th, a minor 7th, and a diminished 7th, obviously the same interval as a major 6th. So, if we're talking about a 7th chord, a 7 chord having a diminished 5th, that's where the term diminished comes from, is that 5th tone. When we add 7ths to diminished triads, then we have a situation where we can have a major 7th. That chord is not diatonic to anything I'm aware of yet. We have a chord that has a 7th that's halfway diminished, and that's where you get the term half diminished 7th. If you fully diminish it, now you have a chord that numerically is spelled 1, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7, or 6. That's a fully diminished 7th chord, even though there is no actual 7th tone in it. There it is, a double flatted 7th. Okay? In between 1 and 2 is a chord, and it is a diminished chord. Now, I raise the root by a half step. Here's our 7th chord. We're raising the root, so now we've got a C sharp diminished 7th chord. Okay, raising the root has the same effect as leaving the root the same and lowering everything else. And there is your minor 6 flat 5 chord, or a fully diminished 7th chord.